As a Staten Island court hears a request for more information to be released regarding the Eric Garner case, protesters gathered demanding answers. CBS 2's Diane Macedo live outside the courthouse in the St. George section. Diane?
Chris, very high security outside of a very full courtroom today. This as a newly appointed judge set a date to hear oral arguments on whether to release records in that grand jury proceeding for the case of Eric Garner, of course. And while inside the courtroom it was very quiet, outside the courthouse it was anything but. Protesters gathered with signs, banners, and even instruments outside the state Supreme Courthouse in Staten Island, waiting to hear the latest in the effort to unseal records from the Eric Garner grand jury proceedings.
Millions of people saw that video, know that there were no indictments, and now wonder, what did the grand jury do and how did it do it? That's why it's critical to release these grand jury records.
Before recusing himself, citing a possible conflict of interest involving his wife, the original judge agreed to disclose only limited information, saying the grand jury proceedings must remain confidential in order to remain effective and encourage witnesses to come forward with their identity protected. Donna Lieberman of the New York City Civil Liberties Union agrees, but only in part.
There is a need for secrecy with regard to some things, but there's no reason, for example, that the behavior of the district attorney should be in the shadows, should be without any accountability to the public.
The NYCLU is one of 4 groups now petitioning for the court to unseal more information about the proceedings. With a new judge in place, the court just decided it will finally hear their arguments on January 29th.
We are anxious to make these arguments. We believe that on behalf of Mr. Garner and his family, there are questions that need to be answered.
I would like transparency to see what actually happened or why they didn't have a true bill.
And that woman standing next to Eric Garner's mother was the president of the Staten Island chapter of the National Action Network. She says they stopped protesting after the murder of 2 NYPD officers out of respect for officers Ramos and Liu, but that they promised to resume those protests in this new location starting tomorrow. Live in St. George, Staten Island, Diane Macedo, CBS 2 News.